Well, I'm in need of a nervous system reset. I've had a busy day, a lot going on in my day. And so I thought I would film it so I could share with you three different things that are my favorites for a nervous system reset. And you can do all three of them like I'm going to do, or you could choose one that's your favorite and just do that one. We'll start with ear massage, then we'll move into tapping, and then we'll do some havening at the end. So, what I'll ask you to do is to find a comfortable position. You could do this standing, you could do it seated. I'm in a chair. And whichever position you're in, seated or standing, I invite you to have your feet planted on the earth. Your eyes can be open or closed. And just take a couple breaths to stop before we start. Maybe even on a scale from 0 to 10, a 0 being very, very little stress or dysregulation, and 10 being very dysregulated or very stressed. Maybe give yourself a number so that we can compare that number from start to finish. I'm going to give myself a 6. I'm feeling a 6 right now. And we'll go ahead and do our first thing, which will be ear massage. So, this is actually really great for toning your vagus nerve. You're going to take your ears and then just massage the ears. So, I like to rub the ear between my two fingers, my index and my thumb. Eyes can be open or closed. And you're just kind of rolling the flesh of your ears between your fingers. I know it sounds a little bit funny, but your ears are almost like a direct pathway to your nervous system. Your ears are also little micro maps to the map of the body. Then I always make sure and get the very bottom and just a light little pinch and roll. So massaging everywhere on the ear possible. And then we're going to give a little extra attention to the tragus. So I have my earphones in to record this, but it's that little flap at the ear at the start, kind of at the front. So you'll just kind of roll that, touch that, maybe sort of lightly pinch it between your fingers. Lovely. And then relax your hands and just take a moment to notice how you feel after the ear massage. Sometimes that's all we need, or that's all we have time for. And that can have a regulating effect in and of itself. But for today, I'm going to follow that up with tapping. There are lots of different ways to tap. The way that we'll do it today is to start by tapping here at the side of the hand between the bone of your wrist and the bone of your pinky finger. Eyes can be open or closed throughout this video today, but we're just tapping here at the side of the hand. And I'll walk you through all of the tapping points, and I'm just going to ask you to breathe at each of the points. This is our starting place. And all of these points are acupressure points that correlate with different energy centers in the body. So they really kind of help with our energy. Energy is another word for nervous system. So now we'll tap the very top of your head. So if you imagine the very center of your head, we're gently tapping there. It doesn't need to be a lot of pressure. And whenever we tap, you can use one, two, three fingers. You could use your left hand or your right hand, doesn't matter. I often switch it off. And then we'll do the inner eyebrows. So for this one, I like to use both fingers. You're on the hair of your eyebrow, the inner edge. So right on the eyebrow hair, the inner part of your eye, kind of near where your third eye might be, or where we get the 11s there from scowling and concentrating a lot. Then we'll go to the outer part of your eye. So you're on the orbital bone, so the bone around the eye. So we want to be gentle. And you're tapping on that outer corner of the eye, right on the bone. And then underneath the eye, so you're still on the orbital bone, right underneath the pupil. So if you imagine where your pupil is, that's where you're tapping. You could do one eye or the other eye. I like to do both. Very gentle. This can be a sensitive spot. And then the top of your lip. So if you imagine where your gums and your teeth meet, that's the spot we're tapping. And then the chin crease. So it's on the bottom row of teeth where your teeth and your gums meet. We'll tap there. And then next is the collarbone. So think about where your collarbones and right underneath, there's a point there, an acupressure point that correlates with the kidney, the water element. And then the last point is under your arm, about 4 finger widths. We'll tap there and breathe. And I'll guide you through the points 2 more times. So top of the head, nice big breath. And exhale out the mouth is really nice. And then the inner brow, nice big breath. Even a sigh out the mouth is nice. And then outer eyes, under the eyes, the top lip, the chin, collarbones. Remember, we're taking a nice big breath at each of these places, at least one big breath, and then the underarm. Last time through, top of the head, eyebrows. And remember, you could just do tapping. You don't have to start with the ear massage. Outer eyes. This can be a standalone practice. Under the eyes, upper lip, chin, collarbones, and then our side. And then we end the tapping as we began here at the side of the hand. Eyes can be open or closed. I really encourage you to take a nice big inhale through your nose, nice big exhale through the mouth. Let's do that again. Inhale through the nose. And this time, flutter your lips. And then rest your hands. Take a moment to check in. And then the last thing we'll do is called havening or self-havening. And this is also a standalone practice. You can do it with the other two or in and of itself. You're going to take your hands, so opposite hand to opposite shoulder, and you're going to move in one direction. So you're going to stroke down from shoulders to elbows, and then come back up, stroke down from shoulders to elbows. So it's not up and down, it's just down. So you can kind of think of like smoothing out your energy, or like maybe how you might pet a cat or a dog in the opposite direction of their hair. And they much prefer if you pet them in the direction that their hair grows. So it's that same kind of a thing, brushing with the flow of energy. So downward from shoulder to elbow. Let's do 2 more times. And then resting your hands wherever you want them to be. Mine are in my lap, but you could have your hands to your heart. You could have a hand covering your heart. And then, like we did at the beginning, give yourself a score, a number from 0 to 10. 0 is um, no stress, 10 is very stressed or dysregulated. And I told you I had started at a 6. And I would say I'm about at a 3, which is definitely an improvement. But if I felt like I wanted more regulation or I needed a little bit more, I could practice one of these things again. So maybe I need a little bit more ear massage. I wasn't really able to get in there with the headphones in. So I may finish up a little better ear massage when we're done because I couldn't quite get to my tragus. Maybe I might need to do tapping another round or two. Maybe I need a little bit more of the havening. So once you practice these, there'll be things that you can do on your own. You wouldn't always have to follow along with me unless you wanted a friend to practice with you. But I encourage you to try these. These are my current favorite 3 things to do for my nervous system regulation. It changes over time what resonates with me, but these are my 3 big ones for now. I hope this was helpful. I hope that you find this valuable and that it's something you can take into your everyday life just to help with the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of our day that we all go through. And I hope you have a great day, a great evening, and I'll see you next time.